129 men sailed into the Arctic with enough supplies to survive for years. None of them ever came back, and what they did to stay alive was so disturbing it took more than a century to admit. In 1845, at the height of the British Empire, 2 ships departed from England carrying one of the most ambitious exploration missions ever attempted. Their goal was to chart the last unmapped section of the Northwest Passage, a sea route through the Arctic that promised faster trade routes, global prestige and immortality in history. The ships were HMS Erebus and HMS Terror. They were not ordinary vessels. Both had been reinforced for polar travel, equipped with steam engines converted from locomotives, and stocked with provisions calculated to last at least 3 years. On board were 129 men, including seasoned officers, surgeons, scientists, and sailors trained to survive extreme conditions. The expedition was led by Sir John Franklin, a respected naval officer and Arctic veteran. Confidence was high. Technology was advanced. Failure seemed unlikely. The ships sailed west, entering the cold waters of the Arctic. That was the last time anyone from the expedition was seen alive by Europeans. For the first 2 years, the silence caused little concern. Arctic expeditions often disappeared for long periods, trapped by ice or unable to communicate. This was expected. But by 1848, worry began to grow. No letters had arrived. No sightings had been reported. No Inuit accounts mentioned returning ships. The British Admiralty began to panic. Search missions were launched, first cautiously, then desperately. Ships were sent from multiple directions, combing the Arctic for any sign of Franklin and his men. What they found was not rescue. It was evidence of catastrophe. In 1850, searchers discovered traces of the expedition. Campsites abandoned in haste. Graves carved into permafrost. 3 bodies buried on Beechy Island, remarkably preserved by the cold. The men had died early in the journey. Something was already wrong. More expeditions followed. Each brought back fragments of a larger, darker story. Pieces that refused to fit neatly together. In 1854, Inuit testimony changed everything. Local Inuit people reported encounters with starving white men dragging heavy boats across the ice. They described bodies along the shoreline, men collapsing from exhaustion, and stories of desperate behavior. Some accounts mentioned cannibalism. At the time, Victorian society refused to accept this. The idea that British sailors, symbols of discipline and empire, could resort to such acts was unthinkable. Official reports downplayed the testimonies. But the Arctic does not forget. Over the following decades, explorers continued to find skeletons scattered across the frozen landscape. Some were buried with care. Others lay exposed, where men had fallen and never risen again. Forensic examination revealed cut marks on bones. Not animal, human. The ships themselves, Erebus and Terror, vanished completely, swallowed by ice and legend. For more than 160 years they remained lost, until technology caught up. In 2014, HMS Erebus was discovered beneath Arctic waters, astonishingly preserved. 2 years later, HMS Terror was found, resting silently in the darkness, its interior still intact. Inside were artifacts frozen in time. Plates still stacked. Boots near bunks. Instruments left where hands had last touched them. And journals. The written records told a story not of sudden disaster, but of slow collapse. The ships had become trapped in ice for years. Not months. Years. Food supplies dwindled. Canned provisions, believed to be cutting edge, were sealed with lead solder. Over time, the lead leached into the food. Modern testing confirmed severe lead poisoning among the crew. Symptoms include confusion, paranoia, impaired judgment. Scurvy weakened bodies. Cold consumed strength. Darkness crushed morale. Leadership began to fail. At some point, Sir John Franklin died. Command passed to others. Decisions became harder. Options disappeared. Eventually, the unthinkable choice was made. The ships were abandoned. Men loaded boats with supplies and began marching south across hundreds of miles of frozen wasteland, hoping to reach safety. They never did. The expedition did not end in a single moment. It unraveled slowly, one decision at a time. one body at a time. Modern forensic evidence paints a brutal picture. Hypothermia, starvation, disease, poisoning, and desperation. Cannibalism was not widespread at first. It came at the very end when survival instincts replaced civilization. The Arctic did not kill them quickly. It waited. What makes this story so haunting is not just that all 129 men died. It is how long they survived. How much suffering occurred between hope and death. Even today, historians debate the final moments. Who ordered the abandonment? How long men lived after leaving the ships? Whether any reached further south than records suggest. The truth is fragmented, preserved in ice, bone, and silence. The Northwest Passage was eventually mapped, but the men who tried first never returned. They remain frozen in history, not as heroes, not as failures, but as a warning. If you're still here, it means this story pulled you in. Leave a like, it helps this video reach more people who love real mysteries. Subscribe now if you want more true historical cases and real investigations that history tried to bury.